Dan Illman, Mike Beer kicking off the late pick 4 at Aqueduct on Gotham Saturday with graded stakes action. Race number 8 is the Grade 3 Tom Fool Handicap for sprinters. Bet it with a DRF Bets account. You won't be sorry. When you sign up, you double your action. You bet 100, you get 100 at bets.drf.com. Here's the field for the Tom Fool. They're going 6 furlongs, and we have the defending champion in this race in the number 3 Skylar's Scramjet. And Skylar's Scramjet returned off about a 6-month layoff in the Gravesend 2 starts back, and you can make the argument this horse has even gotten better since the layoff for Michelle Nevin.
Yeah, I do sort of feel like the 2 races since he's come back after that layoff following the bad race at Monmouth in June, I think maybe they're the 2 best races this horse has run. In particular, the Gravesend, though, he ran great in that race. Just couldn't get up over recruiting ready in there. I thought he did well in the toboggan in his next start. I don't know that I feel like he had a huge excuse in there, Dan, but, you know, 7 furlongs might be pushing it a little bit for him. He did go a pretty fast pace in that race, couldn't hold on at the end. I still think he ran well last time. He's the horse to beat in here.
That was my excuse for him in the toboggan, the 7 furlongs. I think he's much more comfortable at this 6 furlong distance. Going 7, he just had a little bit of trouble on the turn getting away from that Laurel Invader. He eventually did get away from that horse at the 3/16 pole, and then the 1-run closer, Solid Wager, ran him down late. Solid Wager returning to run a 97 Beyer speed figure in his subsequent start. And as we take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for the Tom Fool, we were expecting Skylar's Scramjet to have a slight lead after the first quarter of a mile. He is comfortable on the lead. He is comfortable from off the pace, but I think Dylan Davis is going to send him.
I think he'll probably come out of there running. You know, if it was up to me and you could just sort of, you know, design any trip you wanted for him, I don't know that I would necessarily want him on the lead in here, but he is the speed closest to the rail. So Dylan Davis almost has to come out of there running, get forward, and let the chips fall where they may. If he works out the right trip, he's going to be very tough to beat.
Let's discuss the other horses close up on that pace projector, beginning with the number 5, Bavaro. And boy, Linda Rice made a wise claim for $25,000 2 starts back. Immediately rewarded when this New York bred won the Holly Hughes last time out with a 95 Beyer speed figure, and kind of showing a new dimension. Sitting just a little bit off the pace. That makes Bavaro doubly dangerous because he is not a need the lead type. He does not need to engage Skylar's Scramjet, and he might be sitting a very comfortable second.
You know, we'll see what happens with him. I think it's worth pointing out that in the Holly Hughes, it wasn't necessarily by design that he was off the pace there. He just didn't break that great, and then he got bumped after he didn't get out of there very sharply. And Junior Alvarado just played the hand that was dealt him. He sat off a little bit. He cruised up on the turn. He ran a very nice race to beat that field, especially when you consider the 2 prior wins, which were both very visually impressive. They were against 25 claimers. Linda Rice moved this horse right up, and now she's moving him up again, and he's got the back races to be a contender in here. I think he's super dangerous in here.
Do you think Junior reverts to those speed tactics if this horse gets out of the gate?
Or
do you think he gets a little false confidence from that last race?
Yeah, I mean, to me, if I was riding him and he broke, I would just try and make the lead with him, because I do think that's his best style.
I was a bit surprised that Bon Raison, the 6, wasn't closer on the Timeform US pace projector. He's been on the lead in his last 2 races. Now, last time out, going 7 didn't work out very well for him. The horse that finished last then needed a drop to a $40,000 claiming level to win his next start with an 87 Beyer. But you go back 2 back, this course, this distance, 99 Beyer, good enough to be a major factor here.
Yeah, and it was off of only 1 week rest last time when they went to 7. I guess maybe he went a little too fast. Sir Ballantyne closed from out of it to win it. He just didn't run that well last time. The race 2 back, yeah, the figure says he's a contender in here. I do think Contessa's done a good job with this horse since he's claimed him. February 16th, very strong rail. This horse got right to the front. He wired that field. It was not, obviously, horses of this caliber. I just think he's in way too tough here.
Horse that whipped Bon Raison on January the 5th was fully vested, who finally came through, this Godolphin homebred, with a triple-digit Beyer speed figure. He draws a great outside post position here. I could see him sitting 3rd or 4th, according to where Timeform US has him. No dirt kicked in his face, gearing up on the turn. How much does it bother you that his 2 best races have come on wet tracks?
I mean, I think you have to consider that he's just better on surfaces like that, because he's really run well when it's wet. But you know what, Dan? I think his fast track races are okay too. And when I look at him, I know that he's 5 years old now, so you know, how much better does he get from here? He's very lightly raced, and I think you have to remember there are 2 layoffs on his card that extend beyond 300 days. This horse had problems getting to the races early on. Since he's back in regular racing, he feels to me like he's getting better with every start. I loved his last race, and the thing I liked most about it is it's the first time in forever that he was drawn on the outside, and he was perfectly comfortable to track that pace. He cruised through the turn and he just took it over, and he won very easily. They were much weaker horses. This is a way tougher spot for him. I'm not so sure this horse can't handle it, though. He's a horse I want to use prominently in this race. I think he's pretty good.
I don't want to give short shrift to the 4 Syndergaard. We remember him running his eyeballs out when second in the Grade 1 Champagne as an extremely promising 2-year-old way back in 2016. His 3-year-old campaign, an utter disaster. But it looks like he's slowly getting back into form as an older horse. He just missed photos behind a very sharp horse in Honor Up in his last 2 races, and I love his stalking ability. If this pace gets a little bit more crowded than when Time Form US expects, Syndergaard might be in the second flight getting the jump on the true closers.
It's true enough. I mean, he's really shown the ability to stalk a pace, especially in his recent starts. Let's just point out here how great John Terranova is. I mean,
he's
so underrated, this guy. It felt like Syndergaard, you know, it felt like
over.
he just couldn't run anymore. And all of a sudden, Terranova takes over, and he's gotten this horse back into really good form. His last 3 races are all good. I will say the race last time, the Haynesfield, you know, with Honor Up totally blew the break in that race. I don't think that race was as close as it looks on paper, but this horse still ran well. The turn back to the sprint, I think, actually helps him in here. I think he's a contender in this race.
Now let's talk about a couple of old class masters that'll be rallying from the back of the pack, beginning with the 2. Du Cher, who's now with Michael Maker, and last time out ran a respectable 4th in the Grade 3 General George, a race that was wired by the rejuvenated Uncontested. Other than Uncontested, however, the runner-up spots, the minor award spots, they were filled by closers. Was Du Cher kind of helped by the sort of way the race was run?
Yeah, I mean, the pace was fast in that race, and he was on the outside. I thought overall he got a very clean trip in that race, and when you got to about mid-stretch, it looked like, well, he's probably going to be second in here. I was a little disappointed he didn't get second, to be honest with you. He's finished behind Uncontested now in both of his starts since he's returned from a layoff. The thing that really bothers me about him, Dan, is in his last 4 or 5 starts, his positional speed is all gone. He just gets totally outrun in his races. I don't like that about him, and I don't think it's going to help him in a race like this.
It is his 3rd start off a very, very long layoff, however, and he was good enough to finish second in this race last year. As for Life in Shambles, what happened in the General George? He just did not fire at all. We're not used to seeing Life in Shambles in the winner's circle, although he did win the Fall Highway back on November the 22nd, but he's a better horse usually than what he showed in the General George.
Yeah, the 7 furlongs I feel like is too far for him anyway. Always liked him better at 6, and I think he'll run a better race here back at Aqueduct, a track that he really likes. You know, I don't know what to say about his last race. As you say, he didn't fire in that race. They never, you know, they didn't send him from the gate. It was almost like they were happy to take him back. He just didn't run at all in that race. I don't want to be too hard on him. I'm just not a big fan of his. I know that he can get a piece of this race. He's the kind of horse I would probably use underneath. I'm not using him on top.
Well, let's take a look at our top selections for the Grade 3 Tom Fool Handicap. And we're both going to go with Skylar Scramjet to make it 2 Tom Fools in a row, and hoping he won't make Tom Fools out of either one of us. We just think his 2 races coming back have been really good. He might have been unlucky to lose both because he was in against some really good competition, and the turn back to 6 is the key.
Yeah, I think it is. And listen, he's a horse, he hasn't won since he won this race last year, but I think he's run well in a lot of those races. It just hasn't worked out for him. I think he is the horse to be in here. The other horse for me is Fully Vested.
I'm with you. I think Fully Vested is the value play, especially if he sticks at that 8-1 on the morning line. Mike's going 3-7-5-2. I'm going 3-7-4-5 in the Grade 3 Tom Fool. We are kicking off the pick 4, the late pick 4 at the Big A on Gotham Saturday. Bet it with a DRF Bets account. Double your action when you sign up. Bet 100, get 100 at bets.drf.com. An approximate post time for the Grade 3 Tom Fool, 4:06 Eastern. Best of luck.